Greetings, everyone. Well, today we're going to continue talking about my Dune DVD and Blu-ray collection. Well, actually, there's only the one Blu-ray, and we talked about that last time, so I guess today we're going to talk about the other DVDs in the collection. Specifically, the two dealing with the Sci-Fi Channel miniseries version of Dune. How does it compare to the 1984 movie? Well, you know I love the 1984 movie, so what did I think of the miniseries? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. And we're going to talk about how the DVDs are and all that other good stuff today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. More Dune. Let's get to it, shall we? So in the year 2000, we got Dune, the miniseries, a brand new adaptation of Dune, courtesy of the Sci-Fi Channel before they changed their name to Sci-Fi. Yeah. So this was actually released on DVD in its original televised form, and then about a year or so later, they released it in an extended director's cut version. Now this one is very much approved by the director. This is John Harrison's vision. John Harrison, incidentally, played one of the zombies in the original Dawn of the Dead film, and then he went on to become a director. He was the zombie that got the screwdriver in the ear, and apparently suffered permanent ear damage because of all the fake blood that was flooded into his ear for that effect. But he doesn't hold it against George Romero or the effects guys. He's just happy to have been part of the movie. What a good sport. Anyway, so John Harrison has become, quite a successful director, and he really wanted to do a fresh take on Dune. I should mention this is the second DVD release of this particular director's cut. The previous release, which I used to have, was in a slightly thicker case, and let's give you some idea. Look how many extras are on there. It's just overwhelming how many extras are on here, which we'll cover in just a moment. So what did I think of this particular adaptation of Dune after loving the movie for so much? Well, it took a little bit of getting used to the visual style. I mean, it is a very different visual style from the 1984 movie. But once you kind of get past that and just sort of start to enjoy the story and whatnot, it's quite good. Like, I actually really like it a lot. Some fans took issue with the fact that they tinkered a little bit with some of the characters, like Paul, for example, at the beginning is a bit more of a spoiled brat kind of character. But still, it has those core elements. I think he did that was sort of a creative decision to sort of show a more dramatic arc. I mean, a more, change, that he went from being undisciplined to being very disciplined and such over the course of it. And I think it works fine. I think it works fine as a story arc. It also features the Princess Irulan more prominently, because of course she became an important figure in the books eventually, but didn't figure as heavily into the first book. She was just sort of like, you would always see her around as the one who wrote the stories that are quoted at the beginning of the chapters and whatnot, but she wasn't as active in the story. So in the miniseries, she's given a more active role in the story. And it's quite good. So I wanted to mention, this is the second DVD release of this director's cut. I used to have the first one. I actually gave it away as a gift to my dad a while back. And, well, originally, you may notice there's a flap here. Yeah, the original release of this actually had a booklet accompanying it. And sadly, this re-release version in the slightly slimmer packaging does not have the booklet. Even though they had the flap for the booklet, they didn't put the booklet in it. And that's kind of annoying. The other thing is, the artwork on the discs, on the first two discs, that is the artwork from the original DVD release, not from the director's cut DVD release. The artwork on the third disc is the director's cut artwork. The reason being, the original non-director's cut version was put out on 2 discs. In this version, they actually split it across 3 discs. They were able to use a much higher bit rate for the... now, the on-disc contents are correct. It's just the labeling is wrong. So, kind of sloppy work on the re-release there, guys. Like, come on. The other thing was you notice it's kind of a nice shiny cover. Got that gold tinge to it. The original version actually had embossing on the cover. Like, all of it was embossed. But this one is just smooth. You can see there's There's no embossing there. What can we get? There we go. There's no embossing there at all. It's just all smooth. Okay. So a couple of things. I really enjoyed this version, and it's actually become, I enjoy it pretty much equally with the 84 movie. In fact, I'd almost go so far as to say I like this one a little bit better because, being in the miniseries format with the roughly, 90 to 100 minutes per part, and doing it as a 3-part miniseries allowed for a much more robust and detailed adaptation of the original book, which was clearly the intention originally, was to readapt the material and do a more thorough job of it. So I really like this one a lot, and I've watched it all the way through several times. So in terms of special features, this is a fantastic package of special features. So you got the director's cut, which has over 30 minutes of additional footage that was not in the televised version. DTS digital surround sound and 5.1 Dolby digital surround sound. It's a newly remastered 16:9 widescreen version. If you look at the review for this on TVShowsOnDVD.com, they basically gave it a perfect score. They said this is the most flawless looking DVD they'd ever seen. And in terms of DVD quality, this really is pristine. I mean, it looks fantastic. I really wish they would put out a Blu-ray edition of this. I think it would just look amazing. You got audio commentary by the Dune production team: John Harrison, Ernest Farino, Harry Miller, Greg Nicotero, and Tim McHugh. Greg Nicotero is a name you might recognize from The Walking Dead. He's a long-time makeup effects artist, but he's also been directing quite a bit lately. So, very cool. Willis McNelly on Dune featurette. Willis McNelly, author of the Dune Encyclopedia, gives insightful perspective on Dune and his longtime friend Frank Herbert. The Lure of Spice featurette, a behind-the-scenes look at the production of the film. The Color Wheel featurette, lessons of life and light with master cinematographer Vittorio Storaro. That's actually really interesting. If you ever want to know all about cinematography, Vittorio Storaro is one of the masters of the craft, and that is a really interesting documentary about his approach to color and visual stuff. Walking and Talking with John Harrison, an exclusive interview with the writer-director of Frank Herbert's Dune. Defining the Messiah featurette talks with religious scholars such as Rabbi Mordecai Finley, Elaine Pagels, Munir Shaikh, sorry if I'm butchering these names, and Jungian psychologist Gabriel Bodo. This next one. This one is one of the reasons I love this set, because I think this extra alone is worth the price of admission. Science Future Science Fiction Roundtable featurette. Distinguished science fiction writers Harlan Ellison, Octavia Butler, Michael Cassutt, and director John Harrison discuss with award-winning inventor Ray Kurzweil the emerging technological paradigm shift and the moral issues that surround it, moderated by Arthur Cover. That is such a fascinating discussion. You got some real heavy hitters from science fiction and science fact all sitting around talking about where we're going and sort of science fiction's place in that. And it is just a fascinating thing. If you're a sci-fi fan, if you're like a science freak, check that out. That is a great featurette. The Cinematographic Ideation of Frank Herbert's Dune, essay by Vittorio Storaro, photo gallery including stills and sketches from the film, digitally mastered interactive menus, scene access, cast and crew information. Yeah, don't list just the normal functions of a DVD as a special feature. So there you go. So that is Dune, the sci-fi miniseries, director's cut version. Good news is also you can usually find this really cheap. I think I picked this re-release version up for about $15 back in the day. And the miniseries alone is 5 hours. Then you got 5 hours worth of commentary. And then you probably got about 3 hours worth of documentaries and stuff on there as well. Some related to the movie, some not. And yeah. And then finally, last but not least, we have Children of Dune, which is notable because it's the first time any of the other Dune books have been adapted. Yes, and I'm sorry to say I actually have to I still haven't finished watching this. I've only watched the first part. I've not watched parts 2 and 3. Now, that said, some of you may be scratching your head thinking, well, isn't Children of Dune the third book? And the answer to that is yes, Children of Dune is the third book. This miniseries, however, and it's another 3-parter, actually adapts the second and third books together. The second book is actually the shortest of all the Dune books. It's a little over 200 pages, I think. It's really, really tiny as far as an epic Dune book goes. So essentially, they adapt Dune Messiah, the second book, in part 1, and then parts 2 and 3 are Children of Dune, more or less. I think there's a little bit of overlap there, but that's more or less how they do it. So yeah, so essentially you have, for the first time ever, books 2 and 3 adapted in miniseries form. So this basically continues the story. A few years later, deals with Paul's offspring and some various machinations going on there, and some old friends that are being used against him, and it's just more epic Dune-ness and political intrigue and cool goings on. I was hoping that they would continue adapting them, but sadly they have not. John Harrison was actually talking about adapting some of the prequel books and spin-off books that Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson had done, but it looks like nothing has come of that project as of yet. It would be great. What would be really nice, actually, is if they did just an ongoing series, something like Game of Thrones, but for Dune. Some big budget miniseries, adapt a book a season of Dune. I think that'd be fantastic. I would love it if they did that. So, in terms of extras, after the just overwhelming amount of extras on the first one, this one's pretty light. You got storyboard comparisons, interactive menus. Yeah, they have so few special features, they had to list interactive menus as a special feature. And then you got a featurette, Making Dune's Children, the visual effects revealed. An inside look at the creation of the special effects used in Frank Herbert's Children of Dune. And that is it. That is as far as it goes. Not much in terms of extras, but it's cool to have, cool to have at least more Dune to watch. Whew! That's a lot of Dune. That's a lot of Dune. Alrighty, well, I'll probably revisit Dune from time to time because there's always more stuff to talk about. I've got some Dune comic books which we might talk about sometime. There's, of course, the ongoing quest to finish the collection of the specific paperback editions of the books. There's all the prequel books, which I'm sure I'll pick up at some point. Yeah. Dune, Dune, Dune. Gotta love some Dune. Alrighty. That is it from me to you for now. So until next time, thanks for watching, and sayonara.